Views and content expressed in the following program are not representative of ONTV or the Board of Directors. ONTV and its Board of Directors do not endorse the views, thoughts, or content of the following program.
Hello everybody, this is another episode of Political Talk, and I'm here with Todd Schleiger, who's sporting a fashion statement of a tie, whereas I am not. The fact that I'm sitting on the left and he's sitting on the right also has nothing to do with it. But tonight, what we'd like to talk about is politicians, the ethics and conduct of them. These are people that represent us. These are people that have a direct effect on our lives. And we, as citizens, I see now, are really coming out and showing that we are not happy with things. I did notice that in the 2014 election, after the Republicans took Congress, I remember Fox News interviewing John Boehner and Mitch McConnell, and they were talking about Obama, saying that, his ratings are 43%. And Fox News, of all people, this announcer said to them, well, Senator, your approval rating in Congress is 13%.
13%, yeah.
And Mitch McConnell said, yeah, we're not very good. Well, the thing was, people kind of allowed that to happen. But did you notice in the last year, people have come out and are really getting vocal.
Yeah, they have been getting vocal.
And I'm really happy to see this, and the fact that they're standing up and saying, I'm tired of this, I want better.
Yeah, because I think using Michigan as an example, I mean, Michigan just had this fiasco with Todd Corser and Cindy Gamera.
Oh, yes. Wow.
And the people weren't happy about that. So, yeah, they are getting more vocal, and I thought the audacity of them to try to run for their seat again was just way out there. But
well, the thing was, in Lansing, they knew what was going on. And Cotter and Meekhoff, I'd say honorable, but I don't really have much honor for them. I think to get the term honorable from me, you need to
be honorable?
Yeah, you need to fulfill that.
Right.
Mr. Meekhoff, to me, is very grandiose, and he's kind of a demagogue. He
tries to be.
Yeah,
and he tries to portray that, yes.
I know I may antagonize a lot of people, but you have to understand something. And this is a basis that I have run on for many, many years. And for those who have talked with me before, I'm pretty sure you know what I'm about to say. And that is, who works for who? We have a tendency of looking at politicians like they're some sort of celebrity, or they're something special.
I would say we used to be that way. I think things have changed a little bit, and it's still going that way. I don't think they look at politicians as a celebrity anymore. I think people are starting to look at them. I think they still look at them with some curiosity, because half the time you don't see them anymore after you vote.
Yeah.
After they get your vote, they disappear. But it used to be an honorable position, and I'd like to see it go back there where the people are held accountable.
The Gamrats and Corser, what was really amazing with them is how they held on to their seat. And what they did was morally wrong. They shouldn't have done it.
Right.
But when you tried to get people to cover it up, and when you used taxpayer money to hide it.
I think that's what pushed it over the edge.
Way over.
Was when they used taxpayer dollars to hide their...
Now, what got Cotter and Meekhoff and the others to come after them was when it started to look like, oh, they were involved too. Now, all of a sudden, they circled the wagons, and now, wait a minute, these are two nasty people. Well, the funny thing was, these same two people turned around, and like you said, wanted to run for their office again, but then turn around and are suing the state for mental anguish. Mental anguish? You can't be serious.
You got to remember, the majority of our elected officials, whether you're talking federal or state, they're attorneys.
These two weren't attorneys. Well, Courser was.
Todd Courser was. But the whole thing is, the majority of our elected officials who are sitting in state legislatures and Congress and Senate, the majority of them are lawyers.
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said before. You can be a lawyer. You can be a doctor, you can be any damn thing you want, but the fact is if you don't know the difference between right and wrong, if you are not committed to make other people's lives better, you should not have the position.
Exactly.
Now,
I agree with you 100% on that.
I'm going to date myself for those people that are,
we're old. Let's get over it.
Michigan had the preeminent by-the-book politician. And if you were to look up the word perfect politician in the dictionary, this man's face would be there, and that was Philip Hart.
You are dating yourself on that one.
Yes, I know, but you haven't seen someone like him in a long
No.
time. He was above reproach. Nothing crossed that door. He would not allow it. There's nothing. And we are going to bring out a lot of politicians who have really diminished themselves.
Right.
There have been a lot of good ones. Might as well let's see if we can throw out a few. And to the folks out there, if you know of any, please call in and let us know.
There's one that I really like.
Okay.
He's a state rep. He's in Port Huron District 83, Shane Hernandez. I've talked to him many times, and he believes in speaking for the people of his district. And I commended him on that. I really like what he stands for.
And, well, even when I ran, there were a lot of people that disagreed with me, but the fact is it's not my place to judge, because when you become a representative, you have to hear all sides, and you have to be able to think all sides through, because Democrats do not have all the answers, but nor do Republicans.
Right.
And when you have people that come together and can sit down and talk things out, but that's not what's happening now.
No.
It's and you hear this a lot, especially on talk radio. The other side is the enemy.
Yeah.
Every single day you hear that. They are not the enemy. The fact of the matter is that we send these people up to have some intellect to sit down and hash things out. Sure, you're going to have arguments and that, but that's not what's happening. It's running to the TV and saying something stupid, or getting on there and tweet and
We know one who tweets badly.
Well,
or a lot, I should say.
And now there's one that I had a lot of respect for and still do, and that is Dennis Archer. I thought Dennis Archer was an excellent politician. He was fair, he listened, and I have to throw Mike Duggan in there also. I think Mike Duggan has really carried himself well, has fulfilled his promises without,
I've run across some bad
bombastic.
things about Duggan
so?
within his own area, which is Detroit. He's a mayor of Detroit. I've complimented him on many occasions because he has done a great job with Detroit. But from what I'm understanding, he's done good with the inner city, and he's forgetting about the suburbs of Detroit. And the people aren't so happy who live outside the inner city.
Yeah, no, I do understand that. I guess from what I understand, by getting the money to the inner city is putting more money into the coffers, which eventually will flow out.
That's
However,
the
it's
plan.
not happening fast
Right.
enough.
And the people, I guess on the outer part of the city, the suburbs and stuff like that, they're feeling like they're being left out. But again, a politician for any district, you can't make everybody happy, and I understand that, but you have to be able to speak to all the people. Like I said, you realize you can't make everybody happy, but you still need to try.
Yeah. Well, one thing that would help, and qualify this is when they come and they speak with you, when they listen to you, which is the majority of their job. They should be bringing you the information, unbiased, factual.
Right.
And they don't. They put such a spin on it that if we were to sit here and listen to CNN, we could probably write down a whole notebook full of falsehoods, spin doctors, and stuff that just is trivialized, doesn't even need to be said.
Right.
And the thing is, where it's really hurting is that nothing is getting done.
Well, one of the things, and this is, again, mentioning Detroit, one of the things that are going on right now, Michigan's getting ready to close 38 schools.
Yes.
And 25 or 26, one of those numbers, 25, I think it's 25. The 25 out of these 38 schools that are going to be closed are in major black communities. And 25 of them are in the Detroit, St. Joe, Benton Harbor, and Flint.
Yes, but that started way back with John Engler.
It did, when he enacted the School Closure Act.
Well, not just the School Closure Act. He reworked the money so that it would go schools in prosperous areas, West Bloomfield, Birmingham, Grosse Pointe. They would get money, and their curriculum would be set to get those kids ready for college. And then monies would be set aside for Detroit, Saginaw, Flint, Bay City, St. Joseph, Benton Harbor, Grand Rapids. Those would be characterized as the blue collar. And Michigan State, his alma mater, did a study on that and found that it was biased economically and racially.
Right.
And, he was wrong in what he was doing because basically in his thinking, the inner cities would produce the blue collar and the affluent would be ready for college, and they would, lead those that were less affluent. And that was crap.
It was.
The school issue is one that I think we need to leave for another show. But the fact that you brought it up is one area that...
well, it's one of the areas that Michigan's
huge.
struggling on. They're struggling with road repairs, school, proper management of our schools. You got health insurance issues going on in Michigan. And don't get me started on auto insurance.
Yeah.
Michigan has its share of issues, and that's why I've gotten involved with what I have as in political talks and just getting around trying to figure out what's going on.
Well, I do want to say one thing, and usually I don't go off subject, but I want to really compliment Lake Orion and Oxford schools.
Mm-hmm.
The school systems here are absolutely above reproach. They're really a credit. This is how a school system should be run.
Well, you got to realize that's Oakland County you're talking about.
Well, no, because I also want to throw in the same where I grew up in Boyne City. We had teachers that cared about the students. But now, in Boyne City, where I grew up, was a small town, but the town owned the school. It was our school. It belonged to the parents, the kids,
the community.
And generations came up. And I see that here in Lake Orion. And this is one of the reasons why I moved here, and I was very grateful that my 4 boys came through there. And I'm forever grateful.
I will never knock Lake Orion. It's a great school system, but they're one of the affluent areas. Oakland County is one of the highest tax counties in the nation.
Well, I could agree with you on that, but I want to put a lot of that comes with the parents, because the parents support their kids and go to see them do things, and it's like I say, it's a part of the town. What goes on in the school is a part of Lake Orion.
Yes, it is.
It is a part of Oxford, and
but I can't.
That's how I think that our schools should be.
It should be the center of your community.
But if we are going to turn it around and make it a for-profit, I think you're going to lose that.
I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is, I mean, Oakland County is not hurting for cash.
No.
And anytime they want a little bit more, and if Oakland County wants a little more money, they go right to our property taxes.
Well, I do want to, because I'm really curious on this, if we go to the for-profit schools or schools of choice, how is that going to play out? Because it's nice what we hear on the federal level and the state level. The thing that I'm curious of is, how is the system going to belong to the city if it's a school of choice?
School for profit? Again, what is it? Betsy DeVos, who's now our Department of Education leader, from what I understand, she's not really for public schools.
No.
And I realize Michigan public schools have deteriorated drastically. I believe when I was in the school system in the 60s, or excuse me, the 70s and 80s, I was at a Class A school in Genesee County, and I believe that school is still a Class A school, but the whole system's changed now. And back then, the schools were funded better. Now, we've supposedly put more money into the schools, but it's not going to our children. I believe it's going directly, mainly, I should say, not directly, but mainly to the administrative.
Yeah.
And how's that helping our kids? You're paying superintendents twice as much money now, but yet our schools are falling behind. You've got teachers now who are putting more money out of their paychecks to help buy supplies for their classrooms that they should never have to do to begin with.
And what people have to understand is the investment of your kids going to school is going to dictate what the rest of their life is going to be like.
Yeah.
And we don't seem to understand that the parents have their part in it, but the schools have their part in it, where they get them ready to go out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'd like to bring that up for another subject.
Okay.
I think
We'll
that
get
would
off
be
that one.
actually that could be an hour show, because there's a lot to deal with there, and maybe even ask some parents to come on in here and give us their opinion of it. I'd like to
Whether
bring
it
up,
be good or bad.
well, I mean, if we can have a fair discussion,
Right.
and just kind of see what people actually think, and see what information do we actually have on this.
Right.
Because there's a lot of open space there. To say schools of choice doesn't give details as to what exactly that means. Does that mean that everyone in the state can decide, I want to come to Lake Orion, and if that be the case, then will Lake Orion students or people from Lake Orion, will they be pushed out because the school can only hold so much? I mean, we
Right.
don't know.
Right.
We have no idea what they're talking about. But, something happened to me this past week. Now, I'm encouraging everybody to call your state rep, call your state senator, and I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for this, but I'm doing it anyway. Call your congressman. If you don't like something, if you need answers, you need to call them and get those answers. Now, I'm not above calling them, but what I found with a lot of them is they won't give you the time of day.
And then half the time you get an answering machine, and they don't
Yep.
return your call. Yeah.
And I have gotten, and I'm not ashamed to say this, after a while, you get tired of being, well, you're not that important.
Yep.
The congressman is very busy. Well, tell the congressman that I really don't think I want the taxes taken out of my paycheck if he's that busy.
Right.
And
Would that be a good thing if we could actually do that?
Oh, well, they told me, this is Mike Bishop's office, so if Mike happens to hear this, I'm sure if you've read my messages that I've left you, because I've left you a lot of questions, I feel that you say the press is wrong, and you criticize the press a lot. I mean, you know, you have your opinion, and so what I did is I took what you said, and I said, well, okay, well, if you have the answers, I want to call and find out. So I did. And for example, the Affordable Health Care Act, what they call Obamacare.
Right.
I asked, could I get a copy of it? I want to see what this whole thing is about. Because I don't know if you saw a few weeks ago that they had one of the Trump supporters brought up that they had a death panel when you reach 74, and that's not in there.
Right.
But yet, so anyway, when I called the congressman's office, they said, oh, well, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get 1,100 pages. Now, hold on here a second. Let's get something straight. The congressman works for me. I don't work for him. I pay my taxes, and he is to represent me in Lansing as everybody else. So if I ask for information, I'm entitled to have it.
Isn't that what they call
Freedom
FOIA?
of information. Oh, well, actually, Meekoff wants to stop that out of the state.
I know it.
But what the guy told me in his office was that he's against Obamacare. And I said, well, what specifically? He said, well, it's just not working. I said, well, what specifically does he not like about it? That's my question. What is exactly wrong with it? Because I hear it's no good. And they said, oh, the premiums are raising. But it's the insurance companies and the drug companies and even some of the hospitals that are raising those rates.
Yes.
It wasn't the government doing it. And those rates are lower than the rate increases under Bush and under Clinton. And they told me, well, he hasn't even read it. He hasn't read it?
Oh, the 1,100 pages.
He's voting on it, but he never read it. And when they voted on it initially, a lot of them, that's all they did was vote.
Yeah.
So then I said, there were other questions. Rex Tillerson has worked out a deal when he was with ExxonMobil, $1 trillion oil deal with 62% of the oil fields in Russia. And
I don't know about that one.
oh, no, that's true.
I didn't say it wasn't. I just don't know about that one.
And the thing is, they can't get the oil out with the sanctions on. So the question is, was that brought up in the hearing?
Probably not.
$1 trillion.
There was a lot of things that was said in those hearings and that wasn't said also.
What happened in Flint? You call, and, well, we don't know. Well, it's your job to know.
Any state representative, senator, or elected official in Michigan in Lansing should know what the heck's going on in Flint.
Mike Bishop, as you see, a lot of congressmen have gone to their district and got an earful. I'm being generous right now. So I asked Mike Bishop, his office, I said, I want to go to one of his town hall meetings. Well, we don't know where he's at. Well, is he holding meetings? Yeah, he's going around. Well, they're all selected, and they're all contrived to. Certain people will be allowed in, and others won't. And I said, well, why is that? Why? Well, for security reasons.
Yeah, they don't want a bunch of protesters at them.
Yeah, so apparently he doesn't want to handle people like me, which is fine.
Right.
Because I go after Democrats as well as Republicans. I could care less one way or the other. But then he came up. They set me up with something. It's a tele-town hall meeting. And I said, so what does that mean?
I remember this conversation.
They're going to call you on the phone, and in 30 minutes, you're going to ask all the people on the conference call, we'll ask them questions. How many people? 30,000. 30,000 in 30 minutes. Wow.
That's a heck of a phone system right there.
You're good. So what happens, he said it's on, it was last night at 7 o'clock. So I got home at 6:45. I'm sitting by the phone. The phone rings at 7:03. I answer it. This is Mike Bishop, your congressman from the 8th District of Michigan. call my office at such and such a number, 248-227-8600. Write that down. Or www.mikebishop.congress.gov. And then it hung up.
So much for your questions.
So much for the questions, yes. And then the amazing part is the call came out of Pennsylvania, so I Googled the number, and the number doesn't go anywhere. It's a joke.
It's a VoIP system.
It's a bunch of crap.
You would think that being a U.S. congressman and supposedly in Michigan, he would pick something that's here in Michigan to spend the money on instead of using some system out of state.
You know, you don't have to. If you come as a congressman, state rep, state senator, you just come and listen to your people. All you have to do is listen. Yeah, they may complain, but if the fact that you listen, that's half the battle. But you try to avoid them. You got their vote. No, I don't need you anymore.
That's the mentality of them nowadays.
And the sad part is that it comes down to this. Some people are just not that important.
At least that's what they think.
Yeah. So if it was, I totally agree with him, I put money his way or support his way, then he'll give me the time of day. Otherwise, I'm going to stand there looking stupid. But before we go, because our time's getting down, I want to throw in one more politician that I think has really been maligned. And I really respect this man. And not just by name, but because I actually met him 3 times in my life. And that was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, to me, he cared about people. Did I agree with everything? No. But he was genuine. He loved America. This was nothing phony about him. He made America great.
Right.
Not what's going on now. And the people that keep bringing up his name and then talk stupid are insulting this man. Now, was he perfect? No. But he had dignity, he had class, he gave us respect just by his being. And this is not to say that other presidents or other governors did not, but this is one man that, without a doubt, his heart belonged to America. And
I'd like to see a governor like that here in Michigan.
oh yes, yes, we definitely need one, because Michigan right now is being maligned unfairly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a topic for another show.
It is.
So, how would you like to close tonight?
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and
Yes.
listening to us rant and rave.
We didn't charge you.
We definitely didn't do that. Dave's a good friend of mine, and we're here on Political Talk, and we hope to see you soon.
And for anyone who would like to come and watch the show and maybe ask questions of us, we don't have all the answers. We may not have any answers.
And you may not like our answers.
But if we give you an answer, you can fact check it, and we'll probably be pretty close.
Thank you.
So, I will see you later.
Views and content expressed in the previous program are not representative of ONTV or the Board of Directors. ONTV and its Board of Directors do not endorse the views, thoughts, or content of the previous program.